Hi everybody, I thought I'd do this trivia example again, this time in the language COBOL, because it's a language which I find quite amusing to write code in. It's a language which a lot of people don't really know much about nowadays. I think I'll give a short example, a short introduction to COBOL, and then do this refactoring exercise so you can see how to use COBOL. A COBOL program is divided into divisions. Start each line with at least 6 spaces. The first part is the identification division. This is necessary. It has one entry in it, which is important, which is the name of the program. You need to set that. Though I don't think with GNU COBOL, which I'm using here on Linux, I don't think the program ID is that important. Next section is, I think, on GNU COBOL optional, the environment division. Then there's a section called the data division, and the final section is called the procedure division. And this is the final division. It's called procedure division. The identification division we've already talked about. It's purely documentation. The environment division is mainly used to store references to files, which we'll be using. In this example, we're not using a file, but here you would define, if you wanted to open a file, you would put an entry here for the file you wanted to open. If you wanted to save a file, you'd put an entry here. There are other things you can do with the environment division, of course, but moving on to the data division, this is where it gets interesting. If you've ever done any assembly programming, you will know that at the start there's an area in an assembly program called the data area, which is for the stack, and it just gives every variable piece of information you want to access in an assembly program. You just save it in that blob, and that's what this data division is. Data division has a number of different subdivisions called sections. The one we're looking at here on the example of the game here is the working storage section. This is really things which you can think of these as being global variables, global static variables if you're coming from the world of Java. So you can have here, for example, an int, and let's make it one number, one digit. And this will be available anywhere in the procedure division. The procedure division is where code starts being used. So now I can, I'll put in a label here because I like having a label here, and then we can just do move 3 to an int, and then display an int as the value, and then an int, and then to end the program, which I think is optional here because you just fall off the end. Let's put that in here. Okay, so looking at this program, we've defined a block of memory, just one digit of memory with the location an int. Let's not bother about the 0, 1 here. I can talk about that later. And then in the body of the program, the thing which actually gets performed, I move the value 3 to an int, and then I display it here. And if I run this, you compile it with the copc command. -x says build an executable. -o, you can say what you want to call it, and then you can supply the name of the file. And then I just run it with foo, and you can see an int as the value 3. So this is the basic how to deal with the basic structure of a very simple COBOL program. Let's look at something else we can do. let's do a for loop, or how to do decisions. Let's move that to a new section or to a new area in the procedure division. Perform 200 loop. Let's call it that. Let's create the label here, and let's do perform varying an int from 1 by 1 until an int equals 6. And what are we going to be doing? We're going to do a display the value, and then an int, and then we end perform. Okay, let's have a look at this. So to end the block, you have to put a dot there. Here I have two different usages of the verb perform, of the word perform. So here I'm just saying perform this thing under this label. So jump to this label and do stuff until you either reach another label or you reach the end of the program, and then jump back. That's what this perform does. This perform does something different. This perform says do whatever is between perform and end perform. Let's see if that works. I hope it does. There. Good. So that's how you do loops. You can do an if statement as well. We can put that in here. Why not? Let's put an if statement in here. If an int equals 4, then display it's 4. Else, let's have an else clause, and you end it with an end if. Okay, you can see if that works. Yes, it works. Good. This word then is optional. You can use it if you want to. Okay, so now we have loops, and we have if and end if. I think the next thing to be talking about would be how to structure stuff here. Let's talk about what the 0, 1 means. With COBOL, you can group data items together. So I can have something like my group, and then inside this my group, I can have a 0, 5. Let's make it a person. Let's call it my person. Then we can use a little bit more intuition. We can have a name. Our name seems to be a reserved word. Let's call it my name. And let's make this one a pick of alphanumeric 10 in size. Let's have a pick my age. Let's make this one a digit of 3 size. Okay, now let's do something with this. Let's move 1, 2, 3 to my age, and move ed to my name, and then let's perform. Let's call it 300 print person. Let's write 300 print person here. Thank you, Emacs, for suggesting that. Display I'm my name. Display and sorry, no need for space there. My age, years old. We need to also end the block. Let's see if that works. Have I broken something? It works. Good. So, what you can then do here is is if I have a second person here, another person, then if I have the same definition, another name, or the same structure in memory, then I can move, let's move 2, 3, 4 to another age, and move Julia to another name. Then what I can do, which COBOL allows, I can move the whole block, person to my person, and now I can call 300 print person again. Let's see if that works. Yes, it does. Good. So what I'm doing here is I'm just moving the whole of this memory. All of that, that's what this line does here. It's moving the whole of the memory on top of this memory here. And this is a way in COBOL you can just put things together. You can move memory around in blobs. Okay, we're now getting close to being able to write something interesting. Another thing we need, if you're looking at the original code on the left for the trivia exercise, is you have this word occurs. So let's say we have a list of O1, what can I think of? What can we have a list of? Let's have books. Occurs 50 times, and let's use the pick definition here. 05 title. Oh, title appears to be a reserved word as well. So let's do this. Pick x 10 05 author. Pick. Oh, is author also reserved? I think I may get away with that. Let's see if I do, or will it complain when I compile it? No, it's happy with that. Okay. So now, let's get rid of some of this stuff we don't need anymore. Yep, let's just get rid of some of this stuff we don't need anymore. So let's do something like perform varying, we need an index or something. Let's do an index here. So on book index, I'll make it IDX. Pick 9, 2 will be large enough. Varying book IDX from 1 by 1 until book index equals 50. This is another important thing in COBOL, that arrays, and this occurs here, makes an array of 50 books in the book list. The arrays are 1 indexed and not 0 indexed in COBOL. So what I can do here is I can, how do you read something? Is it input? No, it's not. And it's not display, is when you accept book title, book index, that will, let's display this, enter a title, accept book title, and then display, enter an author, then accept book author. Oh no, it's just author I wrote, sorry. Book index, and then we can here add 1 to book index. Okay, and then let's do here a print loop. Perform varying book index from 1 by 1 until book index equals 50. That's a lot of books. Let's just do it for 5 at the moment. We'll find a way to do this better later. Display book title, book index, and then display author. And perform. Yes, that's obviously wrong here. Add 1 to book index. I don't need to do that. Okay, so this is a perform varying. Book index is being used to index into the book list. As you see, you add the index to each element in the book list. So rather than saying book list 1, you say book title or book title 1. Let's see if this works before I carry on talking. It seems to be happy. Enter a title, foo bar, enter an author, me. Enter a title, bar, foo, enter an author, you. Enter a title, la la la, them. Enter a title, al, us. Okay, and then you see it. Good. Right, that's some basic COBOL. In the next, one more thing I can maybe mention is, because you see it quite a lot here on this side, you see something called 88. And 88 is a special level. It has a certain meaning. It doesn't mean that it's nested. It does mean it's nested inside, but it has a certain meaning. So what you often find in COBOL programs is 01, let's just call it program state or something, which is a pick X or a pick 9. Let's make it just 1 digit. I have 88 running value 1. 88 error occurred. Is that how you spell occurred? I think it is. Value 9. Let's do a paused as well. And then the way you use this, this may be a little bit unusual for people who don't know this. You can set running to true, and then you can say if running, then display program running, and if, let's see that running here. There, it works, good. So what's going on here? Set running to true means write the value 1 into this program state. And then running checks to see what value the program state is. It checks to see if program state is 1, then that value is to true. This is sometimes really useful. You can also have lots of different, you can put lots of values together. So you can have, okay, here can be value 1, 2. For example, 1 through 2. I think you can also have commas between them like that, can't you? Is that possible? Yes, that looks okay. That works. Or you can say through, which means go from 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. If you put a 5 here, it would be 1 through 5 would be okay. Good. That's how you do level 88 variables. They're very useful. What is something else we can do? Let's see what else we need to read the trivia example here. There's not much more to talk about. So I think we're getting close to having enough information to start the trivia exercise. There was a few uses of the word function I would like to talk about. there's one, there's this simple function. Okay, there's function mod here. Function in COBOL, so this block here, there are a number of built-in functions which take arguments and return something. So function mod, if roll is a value 3, mod 3 of 2 would probably give 1 back, I imagine, so it is not equal to 0. That is how that can be read. There are a number of built-in functions, because COBOL itself doesn't have functions which you can write. You can't write your own functions. You can only write code blocks and then jump to that code block. So you can have, as we have done in a couple of examples, we can have here 200 sub unit, or whatever you want to call it, and here you just do stuff. Oh, by the way, you write a comment by putting a star here and saying this is a comment, for example. I'm not sure there's much else we need to talk about in order to start running, in order to start this refactoring exercise. Okay. Yes. And that's it. Hope to talk to you soon.